After over a year of absence, Nintendo Directs have finally made their grand return, and while the reception to the latest Nintendo Direct has been rather mixed, that didn't mean that we didn't get some big announcements out of it. And in my opinion, the crown jewel of those is without a doubt Splatoon 3, a game that I was very much in the corner of not happening till the next console. But hey, I'm more than happy to be wrong. And it's great that I finally have something else to look forward to from Nintendo that isn't just Breath of the Wild 2 news or new Smash DLC. So, with the next Splatoon game on the way, I want to talk about some of the things that I want to see in this newest installment, starting with stages, namely ones that I want to see return from previous installments. So with that being said, let's begin. Ah yes, Urchin Underpass, the one that started it all the way back at E3 2014. This shouldn't exactly come as a surprise to anyone, as in my last video talking about Smash stages, I had a whole section dedicated to Urchin Underpass and why it should have been Ultimate instead of Moray Towers. So for more information on that, you can go ahead and watch that video. And basically, anytime I say Ultimate, just replace it with Splatoon 3, because it's basically the same thing in that case. Basically, everything in there applies here as well. This stage is one of the most iconic Splatoon maps, and it still baffles me that it never got added to Splatoon 2, even in an update, even though it was in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, a game that came out the exact same year. But of course, that's years ago, that's in the past, but now with this new installment, they can rectify, they can redeem themselves and add this iconic map back to the game it came from. Or at least, I hope they do. Next up is Saltspray Rig. This, like Urchin Underpass, is another iconic map from the original that never saw its way into Splatoon 2. Unlike its fellow launch brethren like Black Belly Skate Park, Walleye Warehouse, and Arowana Mall. This map, however, while not as iconic as Urchin Underpass, has a bit of a soft spot for me due to it being one of the few maps that were playable in the original global test fire that was, like I'm sure it was for many of you, my first time ever experiencing Splatoon way back in early May of 2015. Something that its fellow test fire companion map, Walleye Warehouse, doesn't have due to its presence in Splatoon 2. In fact, that's the main reason I want it back, is really just for the nostalgia, honestly. There are other maps from the original that I like more than Saltspray Rig, and trust me, we'll get to those soon enough. But Saltspray Rig does have a special place for me due to it being associated with the good old days of the global test fire. Staying up all night just so I could play it, and heck, even that last one when the servers didn't work for an hour, and because of that Nintendo had to extend it so we could actually play it. But yeah, is Saltspray Rig my favorite? No, but it's definitely a map I really like. It's a very nostalgic classic, and it's definitely a map that I think deserves to come back in Splatoon 3. Next up is Flounder Heights. This is a map that I don't see talked about all that much, but it's always been a favorite of mine. And given the little that we know about Splatoon 3, I actually think this map could fit in fairly well with the game's new setting. What do I mean by this? Well, we do know that Splatoon 3 will be taking place in a new area of the Splatoon world called the Splatlands, which we see little of in the reveal trailer, which contains the new city/hub area known as Splatsville. Yes, they really are calling the new hub area Splatsville. Although, to be fair, they already did Inkopolis twice, so I guess that they decided it was time to do something new, I guess. But anyways, the main reason I bring this up is that we see that the hub area is surrounded by apartment buildings. And I know people have their own speculations on what exactly that can mean, and we'll get to that when we get to a features type video down the line. But why am I bringing this up? Well, what is Flounder Heights played on and surrounded by? That's right, apartments! Does that really matter in the grand scheme of things? No, but it is something I thought of pointing out because that would be a way of tying it in, so to speak, with the new game's world, and would definitely be something that I think kind of would justify its inclusion in the new game. I know what you're thinking right now, and yes, I'm including two stages in the same spot. Why? Because honestly, I can't really decide which one I want more, so I figured heck with it, I'll just group them together. I like the look and layouts of these maps just about the same, hence why I've decided to put them together in the same spot. Honestly though, I don't really have that much to say about these maps other than I like them and I want to see them come back, so apologies if this section seems a tad short. But oh well, what are you gonna do? You will have probably noticed that all the stages that I've mentioned so far have been maps from the first game that didn't return in Splatoon 2. And that's not just because I like those maps and I want to see them come back, but it's also because they are maps that are currently trapped behind being on Wii U. You know, Nintendo's least successful console that has been made more and more obsolete over the last couple of years by all the Switch ports they have done. By comparison, going between Splatoon 2 and Splatoon 3 will be a lot easier simply by virtue of them being on the same platform. So if maps that returned from Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2 didn't return again in Splatoon 3, it wouldn't be as big of a deal since you can still play those maps on Switch. Whereas the Wii U, yeah, I've had a Wii U since 2012 and I've had Splatoon 1 since day one, but it's safe to say not many people are going to be dragging out their Wii U's again just so they can play a couple of old maps. So that being said though, I of course do have some Splatoon 1 maps that did come back in Splatoon 2 that I would like to see return once more in Splatoon 3. These would include Blackbelly Skate Park, Walleye Warehouse, Arowana Mall, which are of course all maps that were launch maps in the original, Camp Triggerfish, Piranha Plant, and heck, even stages like Anchovy Games and Moray Towers, maps that, at least from what I have heard, aren't exactly beloved in the Splatoon community, but don't quote me on that. Now, of course, we aren't going to get all of those maps back, and besides, I'd rather see them prioritize bringing back maps that didn't come back in Splatoon 2 as opposed to those that did for the reason I mentioned earlier, which is also why I'm putting these stages in the honorable mentions. So, with that all being said, let's go ahead and jump into my most wanted return stage from Splatoon 1, which is Mahi Resort. This is without question my favorite map in Splatoon 1 and probably my favorite Splatoon map right now, period. I like how bright and colorful it is, and I like the map's unique mechanic where the water can rise and lower and how that can change how the matches are played. Now, I know there's a Shifty Station map called Furler in the Ashes, hopefully I'm not butchering that name, that also has this mechanic. But for one, I've never played that map as it was in one of the Splatfests in Splatoon 2 I missed, and two, it's not normally playable these days unless you do private battles. Plus, none of the Shifty Station maps are most likely going to return in Splatoon 3 anyways, so yeah. Regardless though, I feel like this map's unique mechanic alone makes it worthy of a return. If I could pick only one map from the original, and there's a lot of maps from the original that I really like and I want to see them all come back, but if I gotta be realistic, probably not even half of the stuff in this video is going to come back. We're probably only going to get like maybe 3 maps from the original absolute most. But if I have to pick one, if I could pick only one map, it's gotta be Mahi Resort. It just has to be. So those are some of the stages from Splatoon 1 that I want to see return in Splatoon 3. And for those wondering, where are the Splatoon 2 stages? Don't worry, as I'll be talking about those stages in the next video, so make sure to be on the lookout for that. So with that being said, this is Logan589XP, and I'll see you guys next time.